Good evening, good evening, good evening. It is a great day to be alive in my right mind, and I thank God for it. This is just an update on our August mental health support group from Simple Balanced Life Ministries. And we had two good sessions on the 18th. And the first facilitator was Lillian Quintana, and she talked about the effects of the pandemic on individuals and families. She works with a nonprofit organization called the James House, and she talked about the coping skills, mindfulness, and during the pandemic, before the pandemic, people were going through many things anyway, but then you add the pandemic to it, dealing with the emotional and verbal and physical abuse of those that they were working with. And so it was very stressful to them to deal with what they're normally dealing with, the abuse, homelessness, just so many things. Then you add COVID back to it. It was very daunting. And she used the word stop. Stop what you're doing, take a breath, observe your thoughts and feelings and emotions, proceed with something that helps you emotionally. Again, the pandemic has really caused a lot of havoc with people. It showed up great things over in a greater way, things that were going on in the people's lives. Talking about the resiliency of children and adults. Of course, everybody has been affected during these approximately 2 years, a little over 2 years of dealing with the pandemic. So it was some very good information. She's constantly on the call. People are constantly calling her organization. She's the CEO of the James House, and they have seen, of course, a great more influx of people dealing with mental health issues because of the pandemic. Then at 6 o'clock, we had Joanna Jarrell. She works in the educational field or special needs children in the schools, and she came from the perspective of what the educators had to go through. Of course, nationwide, probably worldwide, there's a lack of educators, lack of people working in the school, in the educational system because of the pandemic. And she was saying some of the teachers, even herself, they were dealing with the despair, anxiety, dealing with COVID, and that put a lot of stress now. Dealing with students anyway is a challenge. But then you add the pandemic to it, it made it even more stressing. They've lost a lot of workers, volunteers, couldn't volunteer in the schools like before. You know, the loss of bus drivers, cafeteria staffs, like I said, volunteers, support staff. And she had to actually go into the classroom. See, she worked, and people like her worked one-on-one with the challenging students, but she had to go into the full classroom and work as well. So this pandemic really has reaped havoc on every institution, every position. So she was talking about, even for her, and she's getting ready to retire, this is her last school term, 22-23. And she was in a lot of these things she wasn't familiar with, had to try to teach the students virtually. She actually went into a kind of a challenge situation because she has some health issues herself that she had to overcome from years ago. And I believe one was lupus, when she goes through a lot of pain, and she was concerned about how can she do all of this as an educator. And so sometimes we don't think about how it affected other people, those who are helping people, and i.e. the educational institution and so the educators were affected, the volunteers were affected, all positions are affected. There's a shortage of all positions throughout the country, and it's a lot of pressure on people. But she brought some good information. So what I want you to do is to keep in contact with us. And if you have a story to tell in your profession, you would like to share in your profession, whether you place you work deals with people with mental health issues, or you're in a profession, of course, you've been affected by COVID-19 and the mental health stresses on that, please contact me. We're going to have some pastors on soon, and they're going to talk about how they have and are dealing with the pandemic. We have medical staff, educators, those in other nonprofit organizations, or those who protect and serve. We've had a lieutenant have come on, those from the communication and 911 call takers will be on next month. So it's a lot of information, a lot of people who are sharing their testimony. So I say to you, let us continue to support one another. Let's make sure we're taking care of our mental health, and together we'll get through this by the grace of God. So have a great day, but please contact me, and I look forward to talking to you. Thank you.